topic, please welcome. You can WhatsApp us on the number that I will give you on the channel on chat right away. Okay. Sure. So, Arun, all over to you.
Sure. Vijay, do you want me to switch on the video? I was trying to do it, but I think it's not allowed by the host or something, it says.
Oh, really? Let me check. Okay. So let me give you the host rights. Just a moment. Okay. So Arun, check now. You should be able to share your video.
You able to see me?
Yes. Now your video is live. Yeah. And let me also give permission for others to start video. Okay, if they want to. Yes. Okay. Over to you, Arun.
Sure. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you a lot. So, hello, good afternoon.
I didn't introduce you because you wanted your introduction at the end of the session. So
right. So I'll give a very quick round of intro, but I have more talking about my detail level towards the end of the slide. So I'm Arun Divakaran, currently playing the role of a digital transformation lead, and I come with an 18+ years of industry experience, working in an MNC called IQVIA now. So we'll cover more details as we reach towards the end of the slide. So I'm so excited to be part of this session. I wanted to literally cover maximum topics, my industry experience and how I have put together everything in a nutshell, in a way that people can accept, digest. It's more like a mind share, right? So it's not something which I have come out and bombarding you with a lot of information. No, there will be similar information, similar experiences that you would have undergone. So I would like to hear also from you more through the chat as much as we can, and we can leave some room towards the end of the session for open questions and feedback, things like that. All right. So, the topic is the mindset barriers, which and a renewed workplace transformation approach. Right. So it's a very very oceanic topic, when it comes to mindset, as Vijay rightly pointed out. So I have tried my level best to condense it and focus on the few things which I personally felt, which I have experienced in my last 7 to 8 implementations, and I would like to hear from you as we move along. Right. So one quick request onto this is, so I move on to the next slide. So requesting all you to be not the mind FULL, but mindful. So all of you, please be in the moment, share your thoughts, make it interactive. So this is typically the case when it comes to online session, especially most of you would have already gone through a lot of sessions, right? So we are also used to the screen. So what happens is typically we get ourselves full with our mind, talking about the day's activities, thinking about the day's activities, and the anxious about tomorrow's activities and so on. So I really wanted to, bring all of your thoughts and be mindful, present, live in this present moment, so that we can make use of this session more effectively, right? So first and foremost, I would like to, start with some of the agile memes. All right, so I'm always a fun-loving person, so I try to look for some of the memes which have always attracted me towards, and we'll talk about real quick in the way how agile has been adopted, or in the way how things have been perceived in the industry today. Okay, so the first and foremost you can see is what typically people think of agile, especially during my initial days. They always think that agile is like a big elephant which is being discussed between the management and the team, and try to bombard it to the entire team along, right? It's some form of a big concept and things like that. So I found this to be very interesting in the way how people used to perceive it before. But now I'm glad, especially in the last 5 years or so, things have drastically changed. People have come to know about this whole methodology, and they are far more into the transformation where they have started adopting things much more easily and seamlessly. So I have around 4 or 5 ones, so we'll quickly see. One of the other thing is, always people used to think about when it comes to an agile management, they say that it's all speed, right? So now as per the project management methodology in agile, a person can now deliver what do you say, 9 women can deliver a baby in 1 month. That used to be the thought process earlier, where if something is not happening, they try to request for more resources to be added and try to get the job done. But at least things have started coming in the right ways of late, especially the post-pandemic, where the people have started adopting and understand how things work in the real world. Right. So this is one other slide which I like, and this is another one. People think agile again like a huge truck where it comes and attacks all the sheep in the company, sort of. So it's like the sheep is resembled as employees, and the truck is like an agile transformation, sort of. So they're coming, bombarding, ruining everybody's life. It's the way how things used to be perceived. And then you have one of the biggest challenges that we always face is what the Scrum Master, what the team perceives, or what the team thinks that Scrum Master should be. But in reality, what happens when a Scrum Master is onboarded, right? So there's a huge drastic difference, and because of which, what happens? There's a lot of upskilling that was needed for a Scrum Master to be on par. And it has contributed to a lot of issues in the way how the agile projects were managed. But again, I'm glad people, with a lot of trainings, with a lot of new quality content that is available in the market today, people have started realizing the importance and are able to fix the right roles to the candidates. So this is one another Dilbert's thing which I loved. So agile means people think it's a no documentation, no planning required, just go ahead and start writing the code and then keep complaining. All right, so this was another one. And the last one is because, it was personally happened that in one of my implementation where the VP said, you have to commit 20 features that we don't understand, only reason because the VP said it, we have to go ahead and submit it, So that was a cultural adaptability issue that we faced. But I realized, it's more of a meme and a comic, the way how sometimes people don't understand and try to enable it. So this was a bit of meme, a fun corner, but at least from my personal experience, what I've seen, there is a lot more, but in the interest of time, I just stick to this. So let's move on to the core topic of today, which is the transformation, right? So right now we are all in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, right? So as you all know, we are currently in the digital space where the focus is more on empowering the people, and the last industrial revolutions were more focused on the empowering the corporations. So anything and everything from this 4 revolution is all about empowering the people. And as we progress towards the industrial revolution, things have become more personalized, a lot more innovations, tools, a lot more purpose is defined. A very deep multi-level cooperation is expected between the people and machines, right? Because now both humans and machines have to coexist in order to generate the output that the organizations are looking for, right? So it used to be that the scalable efficiency was all about doing things right in the previous revolutions, but now it's all about doing the right thing, right? So everything and anything that we talk about from today, it's a completely changed way of perceiving things, because data is the new oil, and everything is determined based on the data that is available, how the people perceive the data and how they create business insights is the ultimate aim of every organization. So what transformation means, right? So can anybody, feel free to chat, type what transformation means to you actually in simple terms. Feel free to chat with anything that you think what transformation means to you. Okay, manual and pair to digital. Anything else? Old way to new ways, correct process building. Great. So basically, you would have all heard about this terminology during our school days, when we studied this physics, right? So a transformation of energy from one form to the another form, right? It's basically, the transformation is a very big term. It's basically you are channelizing, you are converting from what you are into a new you, right? So which means the thought process, your abilities, your complete thinking aspects, everything gets into a new form of yourself, right? So in other words, it's a simple definition to this digital transformation is a cultural shift which integrates the people, technology, and the business together. So that's what we are going to look more into, and I'm going to more focus on the cultural transformation aspect. So I see some more response. Yes, drastic, gradual, or organic transformation to a new stage. Absolutely, old process to a new process for the betterment. Correct. So thank you. So the three top digital transformation initiatives that happens in the organization today basically are accelerating the innovation. This is based on the study by the Huffington Post. Accelerating the innovation, and then modernized IT infrastructure with increased agility, flexibility management, and security, and improving the operational agility to more rapidly adapt to the change, because that has become the new norm, right? So these are the top three transformation initiatives that is happening in the organization today. So obviously, we all have experienced challenges, at least people who have worked in this agile world or have been part of some of the transformation would have faced a lot of challenges in this, right? So I'm trying to highlight some of the challenges. Most of the challenges that the organization face when it comes to digital transformation is the budget allocation, right? So we have budget allocation, the resource availability, the compliance issues, the legal complications, the lack of data available, or the return of investment, to justify the value of the digital transformation. And the two key aspects that we will be covering as part of our next set of slides is the topmost, which is understanding behavior or the impact of a new customer, and changing the company culture to be more agile, right? So when we integrate the people, business, and technology together as part of the digital transformation, we adopt various cultural transformation that includes the agile, implementing the DevOps, lean startup practices, implementing Kanban process across the company, and obviously, scaling it to the safe agile practice. So if you see, when we implement and when we go through this scale, we see that the maturity level increases, the organization's maturity level increases, but at the same time, it is all the more challenging to get where their desired status. So why transformation matters now, as you all know, now that you understand what the digital transformation means, what are the challenges that we have, and the two areas which I'm going to focus specifically on today, right? The cultural aspect versus and the customer side. The primary reasons why the transformation matters today is, as we can see, there is a 75% lift in the engagement. We have the net promoter score, that is the improved customer satisfaction by 63%. A lot of 46% conversions, higher traffic 53%, increased sales to 49%, and how it has impacted the people level, positively impacted the employee morale by 37. The customer revenue has been increased to 30%. The greater volume of the MEP has been at 32%, and increased customer engagements in the digital channel, which is 37%. So you can see how the companies have started adopting into this transformation because of these results that we are seeing at every organization, at every company which wants to stay in the market afloat, right? So every time they always try to introduce new ways of working, right? So we have one at an organizational level, and then we have one at the employees or the people level. So we're going to see what are all the new ways that the companies have adopted when it comes to this transformation, right? So the first and foremost, you see here on the top side, this is the organizational level. So the vision, right? So it has transformed from being a profit to a purpose oriented. Second is hierarchies to networks. So eliminating the hierarchies and moving into a more network model. From controlling to be more empowering. From planning onto more of experimentation. And from privacy, they are trying to get into more into a mode of transparency. So you see, these are the new visions, new ways that the organization have transformed themselves because of the way how things have changed in the last decade or so, right? So to gain more, to understand better, you can see that previously in the past, there were large teams used to be there. There used to be one central location. Now it has become globally distributed small teams across the globe. Right? It used to be siloed workforce in the past. Now it is all about connected workforce. The companies typically operate like a very large scale company, but now it is becoming more a small company. Like even a unit within the company itself operates as a company, like a company within a company itself. Like if there are multiple departments, each department have a functional or has a vision, which eventually contributes to the vision of the organization. So they themselves operate like a small company with all the practices that we just talked about. And runs on premise. It used to be the hosted solution. Now with the evolution of the clouds, every other applications are being migrated into the cloud. So a lot of cloud migrations are happening as we speak. A lot of companies have transformed from running their installations from their units into more towards the cloud. Then it used to be focus was only on the need. Now it's focused more on the want, all right? So which means the mindset has been transformed. Earlier, it used to be just focusing on the needs. Now it is more of what the customer wants. How is it going to help him? What are all the practices that we need to adopt in order to generate the customer experience? It used to be very slow process to be adopted in the past. Now it has become quick. We are bringing practices, processes, and tools to bring the cultural transformation to adapt into the demands as quickly as we can. Departmental innovation used to be the key in the past, but now it's innovation anywhere and anytime. And then there used to be only limited ecosystem in the past, but now it has become more of an open ecosystem. So which is all the transformative practices that we used to follow, we are actually following when it comes to the organizational level. Now coming to the people level, right? So at the people level, in the past, even I wouldn't say past much, but especially after the pandemic, you can see how things have changed drastically, right? Previously, it used to be a specific slot in the office. You come work, you come back home and try to log in again. And now it's all about work anytime, anywhere, on any device. You have a VPN, you connect to the office network, you get the approval, whatever is required, and you start work. right? So that transformation has already happened, because now the people, I remember one of our banking customer, which used to be very, very adamant, I would say, to not have any mobile phones or even the bags inside the office, right? It used to be a 1,000-member office, so they will not let anybody take mobile phones or anything. Of course, it's meant for the security, and so every time people needs to check their calls or phones, they have to come outside, check it, and again go back. It used to be a very tiresome process for the employees. But as and when the pandemic happened, what is the choice? There is nothing, they had to ship the entire system to their homes. People have started logging in, they got used to it, and no security issues have been reported, because the organizations have found better ways to enforce the security measures than troubling the employees, right? So had they thought about this even before the pandemic, things would have been a lot better, right? So the pandemic has definitely brought in some transformation practices, at least at the people level. So the other thing at the people level is, in the past, it used to be a corporate ladder. So now it is more like you can create your own ladder. You can decide what is your skill set, where you want to be in the next 2 years, what are all the areas that you would like to focus on. At least in my previous company, I have seen that people have changed in the way how they are treating the employees. So which means if a person A working in a department wants to pursue another role in another department, they can simply log in through their internal portal, and if the skill set and the expectations match, they are just pulled in and boom, things goes on. But earlier, it was never the case. We have to literally learn to love what we are doing in the current role, even if you don't want to. So our hands were tied, but now people have started opening up more into having your own ladder, and build your own ladder, and you can choose your career path you want, where you can excel, because it's your wish end of the day. And it used to be a predefined work in the past, but now it's more of a customized work. And then a lot of emails people used to rely on, but now it's all about collaboration. We have so many collaboration tools and technologies available, so people can leverage the platform to collaborate and try to get to the customer wishes the way how they want. It used to be a focus on the knowledge in the past. So as of now, you can see it's more of adaptive learning, right? So thanks to the Udemy's, the LinkedIn learnings, all, which will help us learn in the way and our own pace in whatever areas that we want to. So earlier, it used to be that a person who is hardcore working on a JavaScript is being set as is given a goal to do something else outside of his skill set, right? So he used to be asked to do some process related activities and try to undergo some learning around it, which used to be a problem for him. But now at least people have realized that fact. So things have been changed to focus more on the adaptive learning part. Now it is up to the person available to choose whatever career they want, whatever type of learning he needs. It's all up to them. And the company loyalty path has gone back, right? So there is nothing called as a lifetime company loyalty. It's all short-term loyalty to the people and products. So if you're part of a company, you understand your roles and responsibilities, you gel into that, understand your expectations, do whatever best you can, and move on basically. So there is nothing called lifetime company loyalty there. So, and then comes more of marketing and messaging to transform to more of storytelling, and the corporate learning and education, as we just spoke about, it's more of a democratized learning where it is up to the people to see how they want to learn and how they want to adapt. So these are all the new ways of working that has been introduced, that has been brought in. At least the transformation has happened. The last 5 years has been very much huge, tremendous. So now as we progress further, we can expect there is a lot more new changes, welcome changes, probably I will say, for the people of the company, because end of the day, it's all about the people, their readiness to do the best that they are good at. So that's how people are now perceiving the roles at an organizational level. Okay, so I'll move on to the next topic. So unless there is any mind share that you would like to bring in, please let me know in the chat, or we can go to the next topic. Okay, so no questions, we'll move on. So the next topic in continuation of this transformation is creativity, agile and creativity. What exactly is the connection, right? So if you see that, we have two things. One is identification of the problem, another is the approach to solve the problem, right? So which means the creativity is applied when it's basically an approach to identifying the problem, right? Sometimes we use the term design thinking here as well, correct? And agile, of course, becomes an approach to solve the problem. So two of these things cannot survive on its own. It is a combination, right? So how creativity and agility comes together, works together to create a user-centric environment, which is focused on rapid feature iterations as means of reaching our optimal outcomes. So one is the approach that we take to solve the problem, but more important is what exactly is the problem, and is that the right problem? Is that the problem that we need to prioritize, right? So we have to use the creativity to identify the right problems to solve first, and then use the agile to iteratively build a solution to solve those problems. So that is the connection between agile and creativity. Now, as we further progress on the same topic, so when it comes to applying this agile and creative things together, we are asked to start off small. Small meaning when it comes to an environment, when it comes to an enterprise level, any application level, we are normally start this approach of a small iteration, small items we will take, which will focus more on the value and which throws lesser risk from an opportunity standpoint. Once we get that, we try to gain the experiences. Once we gain the experiences, we mature ourselves, our capability gets more matured. We continue to take on more challenging initiatives from there onwards. So at these junctures, in all the three segments here, what is important is the creativity helps us to keep the customer centricity in the mind. So the second part is, once we start small, we then start creating cross-functional teams. And obviously these cross-functional teams are here to help, they are going to design and develop the solution and promote frequent collaborations. So it used to be the case where agile teams are often, they generally wanted to just start the coding immediately, right? Without even thinking much about this agility and creativity. They just think that, okay, they find something, an application request has come immediately, some fixes have come immediately, they just love to start coding. But that's how their mindset is. So how do we mix these two methodologies, right? It might create some issues if they are not applying, they are not giving the right balance to it, right? So how much time you spend on this design thinking, or you spend time on creative thinking before you begin development is the key there. So what is the purpose? What is the value that this action is going to yield at an organization level, at a functional level? Then the developer starts planning to code based on this understanding, based on the time that he spent to design it, right? So that's the reason why they say there has to be a perfect balance between design and the development. So it is the responsibility of if at all, if there is a coach or the scrum master, whoever is available as part of the stakeholders, they have to ensure that the team understands the value of empathy, definition, and ideation phases, prepare them to uncover new user insights, reframe the problem, and continue the development with a renewed sense of why. So they need to know why they are coding what they are coding. What is the purpose which is going to yield? What is the ultimate business objective that they are going to meet, and how it is going to enable the customer overall. That is the key to a design and develop solutions by applying this agile and creativity combo. Okay, now a small activity on the same topic, right? So what I'm going to do here is, this is a very interesting way to demonstrate what I was just talking about, right? So there is a hidden set of objects behind these yellow boxes, okay? And I'll be eliminating each and every object in a sequence. You have to tell me which is the object which is according to your, your impressions. What is the, identify the object basically, as and when I open the box. So the earliest you identify the object, our goal is met. Okay, so all good. So let me start from this. You can start making your guesses in the chat as and when I try to remove the boxes. Any guesses so far? This is box number 3. Have a closer look at the object. Any guesses?
Elephant.
Okay, more guesses. Or I'll remove the next one. Looks like a string, okay. Next. Any more guesses? I'm looking at my chat, so okay. There is one guess, okay. Next. Yeah, okay. So people can now start guessing. Things get more clear. Yes. Okay. So what was the purpose of this exercise that we did? From a creativity and agility standpoint, right? If you see, people started guessing not from the first, right from, I think, the fourth, right? We started making guesses based on how we have framed this object in our mind, right? So we were just narrowing down on our belief. We are just narrowing down at which area our belief and what you see is going to match. And that's exactly where you started feeling, okay, my guess is going to be right, sort of, right? So obviously the 1, 2, 3, it was very difficult because it can throw a number of options. You never know how the shape is going to be, right? But as we started going to the 4th and 5th and 6th iteration, we found that this is, yes, coming out to be a hammerhead, right? In fact, if you look into the complete picture, it is a complete hammer itself, right? So this is exactly how we are going to approach our mindset into our workplace itself, right? we have to know at what stage and how we are going to apply our creative thought process in understanding what we are delivering it to the business or delivering it to our customers. That right blend, right? There is a stage where you feel that it won't start from first, obviously, because you don't know how things are going to be. It's more of an experimentation, but you are actually narrowing down on your thoughts. You are experimenting and then narrowing down at one stage where you start making calculated risk and feel that, yes, this is what we need to build. And then you move on from that. You got that? So just another small same type of exercise, a little tougher one. I don't think you'll be able to catch it in the fourth or even the fifth iteration, but let's give it a try. 1, 2, any guesses? Okay. Okay. Any more? Okay. Bird, aeroplane, bone, number series, yes. Yes. And finally, at the 8th stage, right? So you can see at this stage, at this time, it took a lot for people to come to the stage of 6, 7, or I think even 8 to realize, okay, this is how it is going to be transformed into. This is how it is going to be looking like, right? So that exactly is our mindset. Humans are generally creative by nature, because now that we are, as I said, in the industrial revolution, there is a coexistence of human and machines to deliver the work together, right? So machines are basically meant for delivering volume, right? So even all these machine learning algorithms and the deep learning algorithm, they're here because man cannot handle volumes of data to generate the business insights, right? However, man is creative enough. He has the pattern recognition, creative thinking, basically, for him to adapt to the new situations in the way how he wants. They can better realize what can be the future based on the past, right? So now the machines are being trained to do it, but humans are naturally gifted at it. So it's the way how we wanted to scale ourselves up in the field of creativity. It determines our future prospects in this industry, right? So that's why I really wanted to focus more on the cultural part, the cultural transformation part, right? So if you look into the next huge topic, which is the law of diffusion of innovation, you would have heard of it. Some of you would have read through it, correct? It's basically meant that, at any stage, if you study any group, there'll always be 2.5% of that population who fall in the first category, which are innovators or technologists, or they're the creators. The next stage of people, which is contributing to the 13.5%, are early adopters. So they look for some results before they even start their activities. They're relatively visionaries. They're also into the creative, but they look for something. They don't directly take the risk and try to come up with new thought process. Whereas the 2.5% of the folks, they are highly risk takers. They're high technologists. They're creators. They keep on creating new things to see what would actually work in the way how I just showed you as an example, right? They won't just stop with it. Then the next 34% of the population are the early majority. They're relatively pragmatists from a psychographic viewpoint and critics relatively, but they will look for how the early adopters are implementing it, how it is working before which they will not take up that part. And then there are late majority. They're highly conservative. They are more of a spectators and joiners. They will enjoy what is happening, but they will not take any actions around it, right? So those are the late majority. But the biggest culprits are the last part of the segment, which is the 16% who belongs to the late mass population. They're considered as highly skeptics. They're very inactives, right? So you will find every type of people in an organization. There will be top class innovators. The top two, three are the people who actually drive the show in any unit. There will be people, majority of the people who fall, who fall within the first three categories. And then there are people who will fall in the late majority of the people. They are very conservative, right? So our aim is, at an organizational level, is to ensure that the people who are in the last set of segments moves towards the first few segments. That is how our goal should be. And what we need to do to make that happen, we have some processes, framework, models, which I would like to talk about in the next few slides today. Okay, so as you can see, there is a traditional team. It's a small video you can see. It's a very short video. So he's literally the performer, the 2.5%. He knows where to go and what to do. He takes the full responsibility. And then you have the person two, who is actually supporting him. He's a very effective doer. He's the second category person. He has very high, immense willingness to do things and improve upon. And if you give him the correct guidance, he can definitely be part of the innovators group. And then you have the third person, the third category, who will sort of a lesser effective doer, but still tries to contribute in some way. But his contribution is not making much effect to the overall result. And then you have towards the last third and fourth category people. They are the potential trouble sources. He alternates between helping and actually destroying, which we wouldn't know. Right? These are the cultural barriers. And then you have the last laggards, who is actually the suppressive person who tries to stop the momentum from the company or from the unit to move forward. Right? So if you really look into the transformed unit, a well-transformed team, it will appear like this. You see on the right, everybody working towards one goal. So our job is to actually identify those potential sources and either find ways to change or find ways to enable him to get into the first three quadrants of the matrix. So those are the organization level mindsets that we need to be focused on. Now let's see, even from the second, third, and fourth category of mindsets, you have people who typically says, that's not my problem, right? So I have faced a lot of such, I have had a lot of experiences like this where people, literally say that is not my problem, right? And the rest, what happens. So they don't take the ownership. They just say that it's not my problem and move on the ball to someone else. But this is not good for the company. The second set of people, the barriers that they have is they have always done it that way, right? So how to get him transformed? They always think that whatever they have been doing all the while, it works for them. They have always done it that way. They don't want to change it. They don't want to take a different approach, right? So the shift in the mindset here should be, can you tell me why is it better in doing the way how you are recommending, or and not the way how I have been doing, right? So that is where the mindset shift has to happen. The third is, there is nothing much I can do about it, right? So you can see a lot of people adopting a can-do attitude. a lack of can-do attitude. So they feel that there is nothing much that they can do about when they get into a problem, when they get into an issue, right? Rather, they would recommend the transformed way of quoting it as, I'm a bit stuck in this area. Can you help me find another option? So that's the transformed way of doing it. That's the mind shifting way of doing it. And some of the times you can see people telling, right, this will only take a minute. Why don't you just go ahead and do it, right? So that's a typical old way of doing it, because we are not the ones who will judge on how much a particular task will take, right? So what is that transformed way of asking? So let me get back to you on a time frame, right? So I will come out with a time frame, optimized time frame. I'll be more creative about it and see what and best way I can help you with. And sometimes you can see people saying, that makes no sense. So I'm not sure. Instead of telling it, it doesn't make sense on a particular output, you would rather have a transformed way of asking, I'm not sure about that one, but can you tell me why it is a better option? And then typically where people say you're wrong, literally, right? So rather, the way to approach that is, I disagree, and here is the why, and here is why it is. Tell me what you think, right? Assumption is the biggest issue that we have always faced, right? People tend to assume things without even checking on what exactly is right, because by the time they realize it will be too late in the game, and then you have to redo all the work. So that's again a barrier where the people are not able to ask questions and get it clarified. Rather, they just assume things and move on. So what is the expectations that you wanted to set for me, right? Rather, that's the way of asking it. So what's your expectation? How do you want me to proceed here? Some sort of ask. That's very critical for the barrier to be removed. So the next is, I did my best, but I'm exhausted with options. Instead, what could I do better next time, right? If that person can go ahead and find out various other options by doing some out of the box thinking process, they can easily find better ways in what they were doing. But this has been a bigger challenge, and no time always, that's a bigger barrier. So instead of saying that I don't have time to do, it's better to go with, I'll be able to get this done in whatever time, half an hour, 2 hours a day, or whatever it is. Some of the challenges which I have faced is, where the developers, after building a close relations with the customer, they say that, I already spoke with the client. He's fine with my idea. By the time they even realize that, there is a hell of a lot of problems in the testing side, right? This is happening because he is not in collaboration with the rest of the stakeholders, like the business analysts or the testers or the product owners, whoever, the rest of it. He just went ahead, used the relationship, and tried to speak about his idea, which neither the client know that it will impact any of the other lines of business, nor the developer is able to foresee that, because of which there is a lot of production issues that comes along with it. So these are typically the barriers which needs to be eliminated, focused on before in the transformative journey that the organization has put in, right? So any questions to be discussed so far, or we'll move on? I know we are getting closer to the time. Okay, so right. Okay, so I spoke about this 3C approach for workflows transformation, right? So what this 3C means is actually, it's a terminology used as crafting, constructing, and conquering. Now, what that basically means is, this is more of a term that we devised from the cricketing world. correct? So cricket, you can see that anytime a good batsman goes into bat, right? Be it any condition. So I always consider the pitch to be an organization, because if you see, people cannot apply the same skills, even if it's a batsman, right? If I take, for example, Virat Kohli, all right, if he's able to play swing in South Africa, he'll have to be better at playing spin in Indian conditions, correct? Although both of them are the cricketing pitches, but the way how the conditions vary is very, very different. As you can see, most of us used to struggle in the past. When we go abroad, we used to get trashed, right? Because they are familiar with their condition. Obviously, when Australians or South Africans, they come to India to play, they struggle in our conditions, correct? It is because of the way how the condition is, how we adapt to those conditions in playing the swings or turns or yorkers, whatever it is, or the bounces, right? So that's how we coined this terminology: craft, construct, conquer. It basically means, as anytime a batsman walks into a field, irrespective of the pitch condition, irrespective of the location, the first and foremost thing is he just don't go and be flamboyant about it. He'll just go study the pitch conditions, study the field positions, understand how the pitch is behaving, and you are basically skilled enough to adapt to it, understand how the pitch is behaving, and start creating the innings. And that's where the construction phase comes in, right? So you slowly start constructing your innings, right? By running the singles, twos, finding the gaps, and converting the twos into threes, ones into twos, and boundaries, right? And by the time we get mastered, by the time we get so fluent about the pitches and the condition, we get into the conquering phase. So conquering phase is where you're master at it. You know how the pitch is going to behave. You know what type of bowler it is. You've studied in each and every type of ball, and you are now much familiarized to face that. All right. Now, if you apply the same principle in our workplace transformation, right, the crafting stage is where you will identify your current position under the law of diffusion chart that we just saw, right? So craft, which segment do you personally belong to? Identify the barriers to change. Make an action plan to transform yourself to the next segment. So if you are in, say, third segment, we'll have to understand the barriers, what is stopping us from this change, right? And create an action plan and see how we can move on to the next segment. So study the work atmosphere, the culture, identify the areas that you can contribute without much efforts, right? So that's our first crafting stage. Coming to the construction, again, these are all people-oriented platforms that I'm talking about. As I said, I'm focusing more on the cultural part, mindset barriers at the people level. So in the construction phase, you identify the enablers for the barriers. Now that we have identified all the barriers that are required to be changed, we identify the related enablers. We start applying the tiny tweaks principle. Now, anyone know what tiny tweaks principle is? Basically, it is by Susan David in her book that she mentioned. It's a very, very interesting. Tiny tweaks is basically you are tweaking your habits at a very tiniest level possible, that you start feeling the change. It becomes easier for you to adapt to bigger changes if we are able to tweak your little changes that you can, right? It could be anything. Even you have a clock in your house, right? You tend to look at the clock every day at that location. Just try changing it in another place and see the difference. In the first 3 or 4 days, you'll be finding it very difficult, annoyed. But after the 5th or 6th day, you will start focusing on the new location, right? Same. And similarly, even if you change your ringtone, it becomes difficult for you to patronize yourself. When the mobile rings, suddenly somebody changes your ringtone without your knowledge. You don't know it is your ringtone because you have been identifying your phone based on the ringtone that you have set. Now, if you try to change, it becomes difficult for you to even adapt to that. So these are things called as a tiny tweaks principle. We can apply it during the construction phase while you're working in a company. right? Then start with those action items which you have already listed, which are most critical and requires less efforts to upskill, and start working on them. So what are the typical tasks that are assigned to you, and what is the best possible approach? You identify that. The most important thing is your mindset to move from an order taker to an initiator. That happens in the construction phase because you're now constructing your innings, right? And then you start cultivating the design thinking, as I said, that has to start becoming a habit of yours. Now, with that done, you are moving into the conquering phase. The conquering phase is complete. You're enabling the business continuity. You have continuous improvement practices. You are already a master at things now, right? You are already moved into one of the early segments from the law of diffusion chart. Now you're looking out for industry-wide practices, identifying the areas which will help better the customer experiences. You are going to create more impact makers and make them lead from the front and bring in the habit of thinking with a purpose. This happens at the conquering stage. And all these contributes to, on the right side, if you see in the workplace transformation, we are contributing towards the customer delightment, not just customer experience, but customer delightment. Right? So moving quickly on to the customer development model, I'll like to very quickly, just I think 2, 3, 4 more slides and should be okay. So the 4-stage customer development model is, understanding, which we call it as a customer discovery. We understand the customer problems and the needs. That's identifying the problem. And then we tend to develop a sales model that can be replicated. That's part of the customer validation. This is where we try to design the minimum viable product. Then we move on to the customer creation, right? So we try to create the drive and create and drive the end user demand, generate the demand. And then since from there onwards, we start the customer building activities. We continue to build the customer base. We continue to develop our company as a whole. So the first 2 phases, we call it as a steering phase. The next 2, we call it as the acceleration phase. And this is basically, in this phase, we try to transition from learning into execution. So this is the 4-stage customer development model that we're going to talk about. Now, again, at a personal level, right, I have a 30-second video again that will see how a person, literally an auto rickshaw driver, so all this gentleman did was, this auto driver did was, a lot of auto drivers are there in existence. You would have already seen him in the past, through the forwards or even in social media sites, right? So all he did was he thought differently. He tried to create a new experience for the customer by providing him the required options for him, right? He became the talk of the town at that time. A lot of people calling him up and then asking for his drive, and as and when people come to the stations or even at the airport, right? So the same thinking, right? He is not anything, he has not done any particular MBAs or anything. He just thought differently. It was a creative way to handle a particular demand. He understood the market, he understood what can bring delightment into the customer, and he just created that, right? If you take the same thing to our enterprise and organizational level, we can see this happens during our construction phase. Typically at the construction phase, once we study everything about the company, the tasks, expectations, the beliefs, the visions, we can think about what we can do to bring the customer delightment to the next level at my own ways. So that used to be the mantra, right? Now, if you really take into account some of the top brands which were responsible for the shift, right? For example, the Amazon, right? So I can get what I want when I want it. So you can see how a new expectation, an on-demand expectation, what it means for the customers, and who was responsible for that, for making that shift, right? So Amazon did that. So real time, anything and everything as accurate up to the second, instant information, immediate update by the help of Google. So Airbnb, what it meant to the customer, only I can get this exact experience. Netflix, anything that matches my lifestyle, right? The recommendations and so on. So if you really look into one part of a Netflix, I returned something called as a Chavos monkey. Chavos. What Chavos monkey means is basically Netflix as an organization, they came out with this unique concept called Chavos monkey, where they decided to create purposeful production incidents, right? So they introduced this Chavos monkey. It's a script. They introduce it into the system so that it will stop. It will stop the streaming for many users. It's like a big production issue. The reason why they did this to see how resilient their technicians are to bring it back on track on time. It's a live thing that happened in production. Chavos monkey, we call it as. It's a very great example that people always quote it. Right. So similarly, even one of my previous implementations in the US, I found that there was this. We were in a healthcare company, right? So what happened was when the customers, for us the patients, right? When ours was a health insurance company. So when the patients called this health insurance company as members, and if there is something that is so critical, the customer service group used to forward the telephone calls to the IT department for people to handle and see the first-hand heat itself. Right? That was another way to make the people at the ground level feel what it means, how our work impacts an end user there. Right? So same thing that, similar thing that Netflix did was by introducing this Chavos monkey. It's literally like what happens when a monkey gets inside your kitchen, right? So that was a great experience for the people whom I know were part of that company at that time when brought this new interesting concept. So obviously Uber, it is tailored to my specific area. That was their mantra. And Apple, as we all know, the expectation was to be as effortless as it can be, right? It's called as a no instruction, it just works. So if suddenly I ship an Apple iPhone to you, you don't need to sit and go through all the user manuals. You don't have to watch the YouTube videos to see how it works. You just open it, switch it on, and start using it. And that is the level of customer level thinking that the Apple team has brought into. So no instruction, it just works. That was their mantra and philosophy. So with that said, I think I would like to conclude here. And any questions? Anything to be discussed? Okay. Okay, so last, I would like to quickly share my introductory side. So what this is, I know I normally don't introduce during the beginning of my sessions. So just wanted to share.
I think Margaret was going to say something.
Sorry?
Margaret, are you there?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I started off, Arun Divakaran again here, and I started off as a developer. So I have 18 plus years in this industry. I moved also as a tech lead, performed various roles in the quality assurance, in the test center of excellence head, portfolio delivery lead, before I moved on to chase my passion, which is the enterprise agile coaching. So I had the opportunity to serve 11 Fortune 500 customers in the United States. And right now I'm pursuing my doctorate in data science. It's my second year. So that's a little bit about my experience. So I have a huge passion to interact with collegiate students, trying to bring transformation into their thinking as well. I'm also associated with several colleges in the city of Coimbatore. So I hail from that place in Tamil Nadu. So the exposure that I've got, the achievements is I was able to handle more than 500 workshops, able to lead 15 escalation programs to the steady state, learn the power of resilience, to change my attitude to be more adaptive. So of course, pandemic has taught a lot of lessons to me. So that's a little bit about me. And as I approach towards the last slide, so this is me. So one of my most favorite proverb: the capacity to learn is a gift, the ability to learn is a skill, the willingness to learn is a choice. So with that said, I would like to conclude the session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Arun. It was really wonderful session, especially talking about this topic, and also the examples that you gave were really, really wonderful. I hope people enjoyed it, and a lot of people already said thanks to you for all your contribution on this particular topic. So yeah, thank you so much, Arun. And rest of the people, please join us on our YouTube channel, and also please keep WhatsApping us on the number given to you. Margaret, I will
Sure. No, this was really, I love the animation and interaction. It was really very nicely done. Thank you, Arun. Yeah. And you're doing your doctorate, man. Wow. Which university is that? I didn't even know they offered that.
Yeah, Bharatiyar University.
Oh, okay.
So it's a fun thing is it's after 20 years of my college, I decided to do the doctorate now. So it used to be my first year I went for writing the exam. So I was not able to write that paper, because 20 years out of touch, no pen.